Hello and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on CBS that hates the taste of onions. That's right, we're talking about The Amazing Race Season 33, Episode 8. We are down to the final 14. But before we can get there, let's talk about what happens in this episode, starting with everybody boarding a plane, leaving France, and heading to Greece, where Group 1 of Kim and Penn and Raquel and Kayla will leave 15 minutes earlier before Dusty and Ryan and Lulu and Lala, and they take off heading towards an olive grove. Once at the olive grove, both teams are running frantically around trying to look for a clue box when in fact the clues were hanging up in a tree, where we get to see which team has the hops and which team can actually spot a ladder. In Group 1, we have Penn, who jumps up easily, snags the clue, opens it up, and they have to drive to Mariana's, where they will spot their next clue, where we have Raquel and Kayla, where Kayla puts Raquel on her shoulders, lifts her up, and then she is able to get the clue. Then we have Group 2 of Dusty and Ryan and Lulu leaving 15 minutes behind Group 1. As they get to the olive grove, they both get the clues as well. And then we have Group 3 of Natalia and Arun leaving well behind the other two teams. And at the beginning of this episode, I was not feeling good about Natalia and Arun's chances of making it past this leg, just for the sole fact that they were leaving well behind everybody else and they had to navigate themselves while driving a stick shift. Last time that they did this, it didn't turn out well for them, and so I was a little bit worried for them heading out onto this race, but you never know what could happen in this race, which once at Mariana's, that's when everything kind of takes a surprising turn, because at one point, all the teams were there rapping, doing the roadblock, which was who likes to rap. One person from each team had to make tomates, which is a rice, vegetable, and spice mixture where they had to wrap that all in grape leaves. Teams had to make a ton of these. They had to do it in the exact right way, which is the stems are on the inside to make the outside look very systematic. Also, you had to make the display look exactly like the display that was up at the table with Mariana, who was doing the demonstrations for all of these. This was a detail-oriented type of roadblock. Kim and Raquel were the first players to start doing this roadblock, and to my surprise, they had the most trouble during this roadblock. I will say that Kim impressed me because she actually checked her work in the middle of it. She decided to go watch Mariana do the demonstration again after doing like half of what the display ordered, and she saw that she was actually wrapping them the wrong way. So what she did was she decided to just take those off the plate and redo them instead of doing the whole plate and then asking for a check, then realizing, oh, I did 2/3 of these wrong, or I did half of these wrong, and now other teams have passed me. I really like this approach because it kind of reminds me of like measure twice, cut once kind of feel, and it really works out for them as she gets finished with this first. Her and Penn get the next clue, and they are heading off to Mamo's to get Souvlaki and then go on to their next clue. Raquel, on the other hand, was having major problems. She kept on asking for a check. Mariana would pull a whole bunch of them off. She had no idea what she was doing wrong, and she kept on just doing it over and over and over again, where Dusty and Ryan were able to jump over the flight attendants, and not only them, but Lulu and Lala and Natalia and Arun, who were 30 minutes behind Raquel and Kayla, were able to hop over them, leaving Raquel and Kayla there in last place, with Raquel just really frustrated, not knowing what is happening. What is she doing wrong? When we come back from commercial break, she's like, oh, I totally understand what I'm doing wrong. I put the stems on the outside. She finishes wrapping everything correctly, and Mariana gives her the thumbs up, gives her the next clue, and is heading off to Mamo's. Now, Kim and Penn arrive at Mamo's first, where they're greeted by Demetria, who first tells them that the special of the day is Souvlaki. They're gonna have to spell it, which they crush the spelling. They eat the Souvlaki, and then they throw away the wrapper, and they're thinking, all right, where's our next clue? Luckily, it seems like it doesn't take a long time for them to realize that the clue was on the wrapper, so they were able to open up the trash can, find the wrapper, and then head off to a church for their next clue and next roadblock. Dusty and Ryan are next. They crush the spelling of Souvlaki, and they eat it. Then they're also wondering where the next clue is. It seems like it doesn't take them long at all to decide to look at the wrapper, which they find their next clue. They're heading off. Things start to go awry for the other teams, where Raquel and Kayla are able to hop over Natalia and Arun and Lulu and Lala to get to Mamo's to then eat their souvlaki and get the clue to head to the church, whereas Lulu and Lala are all types of turned around. Now, I will say that the directions or the clue sound super vague in this one, as it just says drive to the beach to find Demetria, who is in the Mamo's food truck. They're driving further out where they get to a pier. They get out of the car, they're running, and they meet up with Phil at the pit stop, which is crazy and impressive at the same time. Like, they meet up with Phil at the pit stop. Phil was like, at least you know where the pit stop is. They drive, they eventually find it, but not until they are well within last place, because Natalia and Arun, despite getting the spelling wrong and having to run around trying to find out where the spelling is, they don't even meet up with Natalia and Arun. Natalia and Arun get their souvlaki, eat it. They're also wondering where their clue is. They finally check the wrapper and they're heading off to the church. And then Lulu and Lala, bless them, but they have the toughest time getting through this portion of this leg. And it really just, it was tough for me to watch at some points because one of the twins doesn't like the taste of onions. So while they're eating this souvlaki, one twin is just dry heaving and gagging over this. It made me feel like the souvlaki was harder to get down for them than the maggot cheese in the previous episode, which is crazy to think about. But not only are they behind because of their directions and driving all the way around and being completely turned around, but after they eat the souvlaki, they throw away the wrapper and they're just super confused. They are asking Demetria, where is the clue? Can we have the clue? Then they repeat the process, because in The Amazing Race, if you don't see results, you're just gonna follow the clue and do it again. So they decided to do it again. They spell souvlaki, she gives them another souvlaki to eat, and then they eat another one with more dry heaving and gagging. Finally, they look at the wrapper and they go, okay, cool, let's head off to this church. Now, I know I just bypassed a lot by like grouping all of the leg in one instance, but I just felt like this was the best way to talk about this leg. Once we get to the church, the first team to arrive at the church is Kim and Penn, where it is another roadblock. This was a detour-less leg, which is interesting in my opinion, but it is 2 roadblocks. This is the second roadblock where Penn decides to do this one because he has a very good memory. In this roadblock, one member of each team will have to sit through a presentation by a priest, giving them the rundown of a whole bunch of saints. Then after the 15-minute presentation, that's when the one member will then go take their knowledge that they just got from the priest and then do a 5-question quiz. Once they get all 5 answers correct, they will get their next clue to head to the pit stop. Kim and Penn are just dominating lately in this game. In the last 2 legs, they were able to get first place, and then in this leg, they were absolutely crushing it. Once they leave Mariana's, they were leaving everybody in the dust, because they get to this church, and Penn is just listening to this 15-minute presentation. Then he goes and takes the quiz. Even in that 15 minutes, no team is close to them. As they get their next clue, they head to the pit stop, and they're well within first place, getting some cash and getting the thumbs up, being 1 in 4 teams heading onto the next leg of this race and possibly closer to the finals. To me, Penn and Kim are clearly the favorites. They are absolutely crushing it. They haven't made major mistakes. They are able to keep calm, cool, and collected. They work so well together. Their communication is impeccable. They just haven't made any major mistakes like the rest of the teams that are still in this game. And I just don't see them really faltering too heavy to where they wouldn't be able to make up time somewhere along the line. Again, we've seen Raquel and Kayla in this leg make some mistakes. Dusty and Ryan make some mistakes in the past legs. So anything could happen at any given point. But to me, Kim and Penn are clearly the favorites heading towards the ending of this show. We move on to Dusty and Ryan making it to the church next, where this is Ryan's time to shine. I mean, Dusty is really hyping him up in the confessional, saying how, oh, Ryan is a history nut. He's got this. He's going to do this in no time flat. We're going to be able to ace this thing and then head out and make it to the pit stop, probably in second place. Ryan is there. The clue says that they're going to be taking a quiz that will feature 5 saints. So he hears the priest give the lecture, get to 5 saints, and then he goes, cool, I'm gonna go take the quiz now, and gets most of the questions wrong. And when Ryan gets there for the second go around, that's when Kayla joins him because the flight attendants make up some time, get there, and they're listening to the presentation together. I'm not gonna lie, the people that they hired for this leg have been impeccable, because at one point when Penn was listening, he was like, oh, you can't go back, can you go, you can only go forward, right? Because I was gonna ask a question if you could go back and say something about the saint again, and the priest goes, don't talk to the priest. And then when Ryan and Kayla were listening to the presentation, after he gets through 5 saints again, that's when both Ryan and Kayla are about to leave, and then he goes, oh, and the next saint, and then Ryan like turns around and Kayla's like, oh, there's more to this? And the priest goes, why are you so impatient? And to me, I felt like the priest was like, look, I have to do this like 4 or 5 times. I don't want to do it again. Can you just stay for the whole presentation so I don't have to do the first 5 minutes again? So he's going through the presentation. At some point, Natalia shows up, and so she joins Kayla and Ryan as they're listening to this again. It seems like maybe they went and did the quiz and they cut out another portion of them doing the quiz and getting it wrong to where they have to listen through again. So finally, after another go around, that's when Ryan does the quiz, aces it, heads out. Kayla does the quiz right after him, aces it, gets out. And Natalia does the quiz, gets it wrong, has to go and listen to the presentation again. And this is the point where we kind of get the idea of how far behind Lulu and Lala are at this point, because Natalia has to listen to the presentation all over again. She does, answers the questions, gets them right, leaves. Lulu and Lala finally show up, but after Natalia and Arun have already left, because it doesn't show like them saying, oh, there's one team still here, they're just leaving, maybe I can make up some time. They don't say any of that. So to me, Natalia and Arun head out way before Lulu and Lala show up, meaning they're at least 15 minutes behind. Lulu and Lala have to go through this whole process. They do, and the edit again tries to make it seem like, oh, Natalia and Arun totally swapped around. Where are they? They're asking for directions, but to me, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way they're that turned around, especially after getting directions, that they're going to be able to have Lulu and Lala just easily jump over, because we would have seen like a whole montage leading up to this of Natalia and Arun just being completely turned around like we did with Lulu and Lala, or in previous legs when Natalia and Arun were completely turned around. Moving on to the pit stop finishes, we have Raquel and Kayla finishing this leg in second place, hopping over Dusty and Ryan, who needed to look out for directions. So once they got the directions, they finished in third place, which they are not happy about that. But when taking a look at who's left in this race, I feel like Kim and Penn, Raquel and Kayla, and Dusty and Ryan are the top 3 teams, and I feel like they will be the teams in the finale. That's just my opinion. That's what I think is going to happen. I just feel like those 3 teams are the strongest, and I'm cool with seeing them in the finals. But then again, like I mentioned, anything could happen, but I just feel like whenever those 3 teams are down or mess up a little bit, they will be able to make up some time somewhere else, where on the opposite end with Natalia and Arun, who come in 4th, they're just happy to be in 4th place. They're excited. They are the underdogs. They can make it to the finals, but they've just shown time and time again that they stumble a lot during legs, and they really need to have a perfect leg to be able to hop over into the top 3, I feel. They've never really been in the top 3. If they have, it's kind of gone out of my brain, and they really need to do something to pick it up or get to the next level. But they finish in 4th place, so they're heading on to the next part of the amazing race, whereas Lulu and Lala finish in last place, and they are eliminated from the race. I'm sad to see the twins go. They just had a really, really tough time in this episode, and for what it's worth, they had a great time. It was a great learning experience. They seem to really enjoy the experience. I know they are disappointed because they would like to go on to the next portion, but alas, they are leaving this race, and they also end with a splash because they jump into the water off the pier, and Phil was like, all right, cool. But that is it for this episode of The Amazing Race. What do you think about this episode? Let me know that in the comment section below. Are you sad to see Lulu and Lala leave? Who are you rooting for? Do you think Natalya and Arun can hop into the top 3 to make it into the finals? Or do you think that Kim and Penn, Raquel and Kayla, and Dusty and Ryan will be in the finals? And who are you rooting for? And who are you rooting against? Let me know anything and everything you feel about this season down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really soon with more Amazing Race content, more content in general. But until then, peace.